Welcome to Soulfully Aligned You, mindset and strategy for multi-passionate mompreneur coaches and creatives. This is the podcast where we talk about and teach confident mindsets, overcoming limiting beliefs at the subconscious level, and online brand strategies to help you build out your signature services, get more visible with your target audience, and boldly launch out in the online world with your God-given gifts. I believe God cares more about your soul than your success. So get in alignment with His will and what He thinks of you so you can activate the success He already has planned for you. Hey there, lovely souls, and welcome back to our podcast, Soulfully Align You, where we dive deep into the realms of inner healing, kingdom mindset, subconscious mind-body work as it relates to you manifesting the life you desire through co-partnership with the King. Today, we're shining a spotlight on a remarkable woman who's been a beacon of light for so many on their journey towards wholeness. So let's dive right in. In this episode, we have the honor of chatting with the incredible Natalie Warren, a psychotherapist and life coach extraordinaire. And let me tell you, the wisdom she shared was nothing short of transformative. Natalie opened up about her personal journey, bravely confronting feelings of inadequacy and not being enough. When I tell you that's a struggle that many of us can relate to, I know you'd agree. One of the key points we explored was the profound impact of inner wounds on our sense of self. We also talked about those pesky fears that hold us back from stepping into our full potential. And now, here's where things get really interesting. The concept of parts in self-work. Natalie brilliantly introduced this idea, highlighting the value of integrating all aspects of ourselves for true transformation. And finally, we wrapped up with a powerful message of embracing our personal power, letting go of the fear of judgment, and finding profound transformation through coaching and retreats. Empowerment Incorporated is the name of her business, and you'll learn more about her whole women experience retreats. So to all you beautiful souls out there, remember, you are worthy, you are enough, and you have the power within you to heal, grow, and thrive. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep shining your light. And I almost forgot, Natalie Warren is branded for His glory. Welcome everybody to Branded for His Glory. This is a segment from Soulfully Aligned You, the podcast, and I have the lovely Natalie Warren with me. She is, I just want to say, she's a psychotherapist, and I get excited to speak to other women, men who think deep, and they're just gifted in this area of therapy, inner healing, life coaching. I mean, all the beautiful things, breath work, emotional intelligence, this is the stuff that lights me up. It makes me super excited. So Natalie, do you want to introduce yourself or share a little bit about yourself with our audience before we get started?
No, thank you for the opportunity to be here, Justine. I'm delighted to share. I get to be the things that you mentioned, and I kind of describe myself as one who just loves all things personal development and healing. I truly believe that we all have a potential. It's already within us, and we get to, in life, choose the path to really just explore that and share our gifts with the world. And so I support individuals, primarily women, through that process so that they truly, truly can step into their fullest power and share whatever it is God gave them to do with the world.
Yes, I love that so much. Can you tell us a little bit about, maybe is there some aspect of your own life or experience that where you feel called to this arena of work? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, yes. It's interesting because I really thought I was called to the work because there were people who needed the help, right? In my mind, that's what I thought. And in my 20s, I discovered that no, Natalie, this is your path, and you're just getting to share it as an extension of the work that you are doing. And so in that, I recognize that my story goes back, though, to elementary. So I was teased from second to sixth grade, different kids, different reasons. It was even different schools. But what came of that was this idea that I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel smart enough. I didn't feel talented enough. I didn't feel pretty enough. And it didn't show on the outside. So, like so many people, I excelled and I did well. And I had this nagging thought at some point, they'll know the truth, right? They will see me for who I really am. I'm just merely lucky. All these accomplishments, all these great things, that's just mere luck. They'll find out the truth. And so I did run into a hurdle where I found myself having to face that lie and really stand in the truth. Yeah.
Hmm. So, wow, why do I resonate with that? This idea of like just feeling lucky almost like for some of the accomplishments or things that you've done in my past, I have had that thought like, no, I'm just lucky, or it just was a fluke, or it just happened. Like it wasn't ever connected to like my abilities, my value, what I bring to the table, that's the reason why I was able to accomplish that. And that I wonder how many other people resonate with that. If you're listening to the podcast on Anchor, we do have a audio section where you can actually send us an audio message and let us know, do you resonate with that? Where there are different things in your life that you have accomplished or you've seen the wins and you weren't always connected to it.
Right.
What do you think caused that, or what played a role in that not being able to be connected with your value and your worth and your talents and knowing that you were enough and knowing that you were beautiful already? What aspects or things played a role in that, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, one of them was when people tease you for being who you are, right? I was teased for just being myself. It eats away at you and the core of who you are, right? It eats away of how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself. And so those little pieces of you're not enough, something's wrong with you, you're missing something, which is the residue of what we know to be shame now. I didn't have the language for it then, right? I didn't have the language for it. But I remember those moments of feeling that. And so I know that ate away at the core of who I was, my worth, my value. And I had to do work around that. I didn't know it was an issue until it hit the fan. And at that point, I said, whoa, here we go. And I'm glad that it did because I needed to do the work so that I can then help others do the work. And I can notice it in others and see it in their language or in their actions or the lack thereof, that there is this seed of not feeling enough.
And something you said about like coming into this industry of, the helping professions, it's almost like, oh, people need help. So I'm going to go in for that reason. But really recognizing, like you said, that no, I'm going into a field that's an extension of me doing the work, an extension of my desire to grow, my desire to heal and all of that. So that was really profound when you said that, because I think that can apply to more than just our field, right? Like someone in the fitness, someone in health, someone that's, passionate about music. Like that one song that you hear them come out with publicly isn't the only thing that they're doing behind the scenes. It's like an
Right.
extension of who they are,
Right.
and what they're doing in their secret place. So,
Right.
right,
Right.
that comes out publicly, but what are we doing in the secret place? And I think that's something that I think I shared this with you last time we spoke, that last year was really that season for me where God just like slowed everything down. He was like, you've got to go, you got to do the work and be like intensive work. So many different containers that I was in. So I resonate with you on when we are doing the work with our clients or people are coming to us for support, we can see and we can recognize things in them because we've walked through it or we're currently walking through it, right?
Right.
And I think that's profound when you're working with a therapist or working with a life coach or working with someone that's supposed to guide you or mentor you or help you through a transformation or help you heal, that they have some understanding resonance of what you're going through. So, yeah.
Right. Makes you relatable and you understand the behind the scenes process, the thoughts, the feelings, the all of that. It makes more sense. Yeah.
Yes. So, tell us the name of your business everybody needs to know the name of your business.
Yes, I get to have many umbrellas under the branch of my business. So the personal development brand and the private practice is Empowerment Incorporated. And it's really comes from the scripture that says that you'll do more than you can think, act, or imagine, but it's according to the power that worketh in us. So empowerment was an I-N, it was the inner power that is within us already. And in that, I expanded the brand and actually added the whole woman experience, which is a movement of women really stepping into their fullest power. And so that allows me to do some different things outside of the practice.
Yes, I love that so much. I think you do retreats as
Mhm.
well. Just for those that have not been to a retreat or they may be thinking of going to a retreat, can you give us a visual or put us in the mind of what those retreats look like with you, feel like with you, what that experience would be like?
Oh, yes, I love retreats. Retreats are so different than vacations. I'll say this first. Vacations are things that we need and enjoy as well. We get away, we do things. Retreats add in the element of growth, the element of deeper connection. It usually adds in other people you may or may not know. And so I enjoy taking women to places they've never been before. A lot of the times it's on their bucket list or they're just intrigued by what it offers there. Immerse them into a culture that isn't their own. Allow them to explore life through their senses. We are in nature. We are tasting foods. A lot of my retreats are plant-based. So 90% of those women have never had plant-based food, but it's so delicious. I know that in order for them to heal, we detox the body. And so that's a part of that process of detoxing the body. And I've been amazed at the stories women have shared about how their bodies healed as a result of being away. And then I allowed them to imagine their life and what they want it to be and what they could do with the dreams, goals that they have. And then there's a sisterhood. There are these connections. We bond in deep ways very quickly. And that's because we're doing this work together. We're holding space for each other. We're celebrating. We're seeing each other. And these women have gone on after my retreats to build their own relationships, do things in business. It's just been a beautiful experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know we're kind of doing a video podcast too, but I want to close my eyes and just imagine and take it all in. But I had to keep
Mhm.
my eyes open. And so, yes, I love the body aspect of things too, like that detox and the plant based. I watched a documentary called Forks Over Knives. You've probably watched it
Yep.
when it first came out. It was very inspirational. I forced my family to go vegan for extreme vegan for close to 2 years. And
Wow.
everybody quit on me and we're back to our bad habits. So
But two
we
years
gotta
is
do better.
remarkable. That's remarkable. Wow.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I actually enjoyed
Mm.
cooking when I
Right.
was doing it plant-based. And anybody who knows me, friends, family, they know I do not like to cook. It drives my husband crazy. I know he wants to give me a spanking for it, but he loves to cook. So it's
Wow.
like God paired me with the perfect person. Like you love to cook and I don't. So this works. But I just shared that because when we're looking like those type of foods, the colors and
Hmm.
the way when you're eating it, how it makes you feel, like it actually makes you excited to want to cook
Right.
your food, which is really cool. So I may have to step back into that world, at least to be 80% plant-based, that's better
Right.
than nothing.
Right.
So yeah, I've heard you mention a little bit about, a woman walking in her fullness or reaching her goals and her dreams. What are some of the things that you have seen from your experience that are I don't know, some pieces that you see that are almost like a pattern that is tends to hold a woman back or keeps her from walking into her next level self, business, career, family, love, all the things. We all
Right.
want that next level. I'm curious from your expertise and tell us how many years you've been doing. I know you've been doing this for a while. You told me before, but add that in when you tell us the answer so people know they need to listen to you. But yeah, I'm curious about that. Some of those patterns that you see, and then maybe like how women are overcoming those patterns in your presence and in your space. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, 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 Soulfully Aligned Sisters in Christ. Have you heard of my masterclass called Delight and Desire? It's a Bible study and business training. And I designed it so you can create the business and family life you truly desire. This is an on-demand digital masterclass. As a high-achieving strategic woman leader in business, you may be thinking you desire more clients and more cash. But these are just the surface desires. What about desiring goodness, beauty, and truth? Do you know how these connect with your calling to thrive in the marketplace? When you connect with your deepest soul desire, you will get to serve the multitude with your God-given gifts, aka more clients, experience provision and overflow for your life, family, and ministry, aka more cash. The world has tricked you into thinking that you have the burden and stress of manifesting the desires of your heart into your life, family, and business. Well, I want to challenge you to flip that on its head. If God gave you the desire, won't He manifest the provision alongside your obedience and faithfulness to fulfill the desire that He gave you all along? If you're a multi-passionate, high-achieving mompreneur who desires to have a thriving business and family life, then I invite you to join me for the Bible study and business training, Delight and Desire, so you can create the business and family life that you desire. Join me for just $7 and get instant access to this digital masterclass. You can join us at the link bit.ly/SAY Delight and Desire. Again, that is bit.ly/SAY for Soulfully Aligned You, Delight and Desire.
There are usually common themes and patterns like everything else, right? I've been in this field for 20 years of psychology and personal development. So one of them that comes to mind first, and it is almost everything, and it's fear. It's fear. A lot of the times, the fear of success, is this idea that I won't be able to handle it, or life will change so much, right? I will end up losing relationships. That's a huge one. One of our number one fears as humans is to not be loved. And so if I have a fear of I'll be successful and then people will change, or I will change, or I will end up in different circles, I will leave people behind, that fear is really, really deep for us. And so a lot of the times that's one of them as it relates to fear, the fear of success, the fear of failure, right? I won't be able to do it. I'll fail at it. And certainly you will. I talk a lot about fear. Failure is normal. You are not going to get everything right. It's a part of the process. There is some growth, some development that happens when we fail. I can't tell you how many times, right? I have fallen and I had to learn. There was something in that experience. We have the fear of really being who you are. I know it sounds really interesting, right? Like everybody says, I want to be who I am. I know who I am. I want to be who I am. I ain't talking about that, right? I'm not talking about wearing your favorite color and telling people off. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really shining in your power. And we are more powerful than we can even imagine. That is scary, right? That is scary because what will happen when I really stand in my power? Like my hands are tingling as I talk about it because I work through that. I still am working through shining, bright. And what that will mean for me, my underlying fear is related to my past, my trauma of when I was in the spotlight, right? I was teased. That didn't feel good. And so really shining in your power, I think, is one of the other deep fears. How do I help women with those things? We talk about fear. I love teaching about the mind and teaching about fear because fear actually has an adaptive component to it. We need it in order to survive. However, many of us don't develop relationships with our fear, right? What does that mean? You got to befriend it. You got to find out what's going on within me. There are parts to my personality that are afraid. How do I get to know those parts of me and understand what they're afraid of? So I haven't done my own work because my 12-year-old little girl, who obviously went through a lot, she gets afraid a lot, right? She's like, I don't want to do that. That's too much. What's going to happen? But I've learned to befriend her and realize, what is it, baby girl, that you need, right? What are you really afraid of? And then here's the beautiful part, and this is what I teach. You then get to help her get her needs met. So I have to give her sometimes a lot of reassurance. I have to give her a lot of kind of pep talks. Listen, I'm not going to leave you. I know this is, I have to tell her, girl, come on, we going.
Mm-hmm.
We are going, and no matter what, I'm going to be with you. That's how I take people through that process of really understanding how to overcome those fears.
Oh my goodness. That was so good. So, so good. The fear part, something that came to mind when you were talking is that for some of us who have been in like this state of survival, we don't even recognize our fears sometimes
Mhm.
because we fight. We're like,
Mhm.
we'll fight. I'm going to fight for what I want. I'm going to strive. And I'll make people see me. And like, that's a talking about myself in the past life, like years ago, right? But I was reading this book and it's called The Soul Care Leader. I have to make sure I tag it in here. Let me make a note. Soul Care Leader, tag it. But I was reading that and I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never resonated with being a fearful person because when it comes to getting what I want, because
Mhm.
I'm going to go do it. I don't care what you say. But I was
Mhm.
fighting other people and afraid. I was fearful. I was fearful of what they were going to think about me. I was fearful that they wouldn't let me through the door. I was fearful that they
Right.
wouldn't approve of me. But I'm going to, fight and strive and knock those doors down and just not care. But that's
Mhm.
not a healthy way to have a relationship with your fear. I thought
Right.
it was so good. Like, just who teaches you to have a relationship with your fear? Speak to those parts of you. And
Mhm.
I think we might have talked about this before, but the parts, I want to get a little bit more into that. When you said the word parts, how deep do you go into parts, and like from what framework do you use with like parts? I'm curious before I
Yeah.
ask my question.
No, I think that is a very interesting question. We aren't taught that we have multiple parts to our personality. And we often think of people who have parts that are split off. So we think of disorders, right? Like personality disorder, which is now called DID. That is different because the parts have split from the whole. But we all have parts of our personalities. And so IFS is a system of framework that is well known in the field, but I sometimes just take it from a more simplistic approach. And God has gifted me with the gift to be able to hear people's parts. So I'll know it's your inner child and she's about 5, or your inner child and that's the rebellious teenager. Like from your language, from your emotions, I can pretty much tell what part of you is showing up. But we have these parts and they're all important, they're all valued. They helped us, many of them, at different parts of our lives to get through. And so I also teach, we appreciate them. We give a lot of compassion for them. We may not like how it's showing up, but at some point it was there to help us. The way we transition out of that is we give compassion and gratitude, and then we say thank you, but no thank you. Meaning, I appreciate how you got me through, right? But I no longer need that type of support. I no longer need you to do this for me. I got it. I got it. And so it's this beautiful exchange when we're able to engage in that way.
Yes, so good. And IFS is internal family systems for anyone that's listening. Because
Mhm.
when we're so embedded in our work, we be throwing out the acronyms. We're like, whoa, wait, what's that? What's that? What's that? But yes, so, so, so good. I love it. Like, do you know when your parts are acting up?
Yeah,
Are you aware of when the little girl part of you is responding to this adult situation that
right.
could warrant more compassion and love and care, and not necessarily the fear and the defensiveness and all of that. But I love this aspect of holding space, listening,
Mhm.
showing compassion, acknowledging, but then also saying, I don't need this right this moment. Thank you for wanting to support. I really appreciate that. But it's that having a relationship
Mm-hmm.
with the fear, with those parts. Something that we do in the Splankna work is we do soul parts as well. And I love the idea of integration of parts, right?
Right.
I think that that is something that's really important because they served you at one point. In some capacity, the healthy capacity of that is still available to you. You also mentioned it too, the idea of the spectrum, so to speak, where there's the DID. We're not talking about that aspect of things. We're not saying if you have this inner voice or whatever that's telling you to be, don't go there, don't do that, or that fear-based thought that it's you have DID. That's not what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a spectrum of it. It's something to put you in the mind of what it could be like a frame for it. So yeah. Do you think that people struggle with that? Maybe if they don't have your background, like when you share with them about parts or you share with them about their inner child and those voices and things of that sort, how do you share that with a person that have our background training, all that kind of stuff to help them fully understand it when you like introduce it in a session or so?
Right. I think it's about making it simplistic. So what I might say is, you know what, you want to go out and do something. There's a part of you that wants to go, and then there's a part of you that doesn't, right? Those are parts. We all have
Yes.
those moments, and everyone usually relates to that, right? Like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really want to, but I did. Those are your parts. It's a very simplistic way to kind of break that down initially. But the reason why people have trouble is because they think it's all them, right? And not understanding that there's a part of you, and that part of you may be resistant or maybe fearful or maybe so gung ho, it's impulsive, right? They don't understand that. One of the things about the mind is I think it's the most powerful thing that we have. It controls everything, but it's the thing that I think we know the least about. And if you know the least about the thing that controls everything, you're going to have a problem. You just are
Mm-hmm.
going to have a problem. So I loved even in educating them, when I'm walking with them or talking with them, I'll say, don't take credit for what your mind does. That's what the brain does. So then I help them to kind of separate who they are from these parts, like just really making it very simplistic.
I love that. I think everyone can relate with that. There's a part of me that feels this way, and there's a part of me that feels that way. It's like it literally is that simple. And understanding where those feelings come from is having that relationship, and even doing, a bit of timeline work and looking back over your life and seeing like when is the first time you actually felt that way, and like relating to some of those events or times in your life that could be contributing to that part today. So yes,
Right.
good, good, good stuff. So, something you said a little earlier was about our power
Mm.
and us shining in our power. That is, I literally said this to a friend the other week. I was like, I think I'm afraid of my power, of how powerful I am. Because I'm
Right.
darn powerful. When I want something, I'm going to go get it. In
Right.
a healthy way now, not in the old way that I used to. But I'm going to seek the Father. I'm going to ask for his guidance. I'm going to show up. And it's like, wait, but sometimes it can be a little scary because I don't know. What do you think contributes, or what do you know that contributes, since you've been doing this work for 20 years, to us being afraid of our power? Like, why does that happen? Why can't we just embrace it?
Sounds very simple, right? One of the things that I've learned and observed is standing in our true power will require more of us. We're afraid of
Mm,
that, right? It will
yeah.
require more of us. And we have to give more, right? So there's going to be a level of sacrifice. There's going to be a level of discipline. And I think we're afraid of that, right? By habit, we as humans have trouble with those things, but it requires that of you. It requires you to become something and grow. We're oftentimes afraid of that. We don't embrace change. We typically do change when we're forced. Very rarely do we do it because we just want to change. So that's another part of that. But when we really are in our power, it separates us, right? It separates us. Maybe it separates us from old people, from old relationships, from old things, from ways of thinking. And that's scary. Remember, our number one fear is that we won't be loved. So if I'm
Mhm.
separated or if I'm set apart, And that means something for us. And that's scary. And then the last one is sometimes people may feel that they'll be judged, right? They'll be judged, right? You'll
Yeah.
potentially be seen in a way that will cause people to judge you. And I'm really embracing that. Like, because they see it differently doesn't mean it's always a judgment. That's my perception of their opinion. I have internalized that as a judgment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. It's their view, their perspective is a way to kind of overcome that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you get the goosebumps that are just running through my body right now as you're speaking? Like, I really, when you said the word discipline,
Mhm.
that hit my spirit. There's a level, like when we're showing up in our power and more is required of us and that sacrifice and that discipline. I was like,
Right.
maybe that's what it is. Where I'm like thinking of showing up in my full power. And you know what? There have been seasons of my life where I thought I was showing up in my full power. Like, man, back when I was launching my book and we hit #1 bestseller, or I'm working on movie sets and I'm just managing teams or my artists and we're doing all this stuff. And guys like, there's more. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
But wait, I'm comfortable here. Like,
Right.
this felt good. Wasn't this the pinnacle? Nope.
Right.
And that's why I think I shared with you where he just slowed all of that down. And it's like it's a new season of like showing up without something that I call the high achiever wound. He really
Mhm.
highlighted that for me, that like a lot of my achievements or a lot of those wins were because I was looking for validation and I wanted people to see me in a certain way or to say that I'm enough or to say that I've done well. Like that's why I would like strive and like try to accomplish all these things. I need this, I need that, or I'd never be able to celebrate a win,
Wow.
or I would never be able to like live in the moment of like the celebration. It was always on to the next thing. So that's a
Right.
really big lesson that was taught, that was God brought to my mind, my spirit, all of that last year, as well as what's the other one? Needing to produce. If I wasn't
Mhm.
producing something, creating something, having some type of result, I wasn't valuable.
Right.
Girl, so deep. So when I think about that showing up powerfully in our power, if we still have those things at the root of our showing up, we're not really showing up in our power, even though it
Right.
may look like it. And that is that like, that's that hard part. You can see people out there looking like they're showing up in their power, but what's really going on at the root?
Right.
So I have so much freedom from that
Yes.
now that it's almost like just a settling and just showing up. But again, last week I was like, wait a second, I feel this like this
Mm.
thing of like the showing up more powerfully, and what is that going to look like and what is that going to consist of, and I don't know all the answers to that, but you hit on some stuff, girl. The
Right.
sacrifice, the discipline, becoming more, being open to change, all that stuff is so important if we really are going to show up in our power. And then knowing that there's always another layer, another
Mhm.
level, and another level. And he's taking us higher and he takes us
Right.
higher. And we have to just like trust and be ready to go on the ride.
Right. 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 Which is probably another factor for power, right? Is which is more trust, less control. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have a story you can share with us? Maybe like a case study or something where maybe a client that you remember that had like maybe the most impactful time with you or transformation with you that you want to share, like from where she was before she came. And obviously,
Mhm.
it's confidential, not sharing no names, none of that stuff.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
just the before she came and like after your work together, what she was able to experience. I think it'll be good to like hear a story like that.
Yeah, I want to share because I think sometimes people don't understand the process of how this works, right? They just kind of
Mhm.
see the end result. The first person that comes to mind is one of the ladies who joined my retreats. So she came through a retreat. It was probably 2019. And I remember doing coaching with her, and she had a lot of grief, a lot of loss in her life. And so life was bleak, life was dull, life was boring, and she didn't have a lot of hope. Right. And so I remember in our first set of sessions together, I was wondering, like, will this ever change for her? Like, will we be able to move her out of this place? Because, sometimes we are in a place for so long, we become a victim to that place, right? We can't see beyond there. And so that was 2019. And she just kept coming back to retreats. I just couldn't get rid of her, right? She would come to another one and come to another one and come to another one. And over that time, we saw her bloom and glow. And at the end of her last one she did last year with me, she was actually at a point, she had grown so much. I wanted her now to speak at the retreats, like to see her grow in her confidence, to see her grow in understanding that she didn't need to accomplish anything, almost like what you said. She didn't need to continue to accomplish. And she was one that felt like, I have to get this and I have to do this to be. She was able to take what she had and recognize who she was. And she didn't need the accolades and the degrees to be that. She was already working in her power. And to see her grow in that, to get out of her comfort zone. She had mentioned the only person I would go to the jungles with is you, Natalie. Okay. And I took the ladies to the jungles. We were immersed in the jungles for 5 days. And she said, you're the only one I would have done that with. But just this beautiful transformation. And I think it speaks to this fact that transformation is a process. And sometimes we may have those quick moments where we transform, but the real, more common transformation is over time. And I got to walk with her. Life has changed for her now. She is taking care of, she's getting ready to adopt a baby that needs a lot of medical care. And even in that was a part of her transformation. And so her life is shifting and changing. But I am so delighted that I have gotten the opportunity to walk with her.
Yeah. Yes, that's one of the blessings that we get as your role as a psychotherapist, mine as an inner healing practitioner, like just being able to walk alongside our clients, the women, as they are just walking on that path of transformation to walk, deeper in their power, in their calling, all of that. It is such a blessing and an honor to be able to do that. I'm humbled every time that a woman trusts me to walk alongside her. That takes a lot of trust. And why I also believe that, it's so much more important that like I'm in tune with Holy Spirit, like Holy Spirit guidance, because this woman's trusting me and I'm like, no, hold on, girl. I don't got all the answers. We gotta take it to the Father. Right. So it's so beautiful when I think women like us know that we don't have all the answers. Like you said, Holy Spirit allows you to hear those women's parts. That is a gift. That is a gift straight from the Father. And I just want to highlight that when you said that, come back to that, because not everybody's gifted to hear that way. Right. So the fact that you have that gift, I think is so, so beautiful. And another thing I want to circle back to is it is sad when you're already working in your genius, but you can't even realize it and you can't see it because of the inner childhood stuff or the wounds and the pain and like the rejection, like all these other things begin to cloud the fact that you literally are walking in your purpose. And so, or walking in your calling or walking in your power. I feel like that has been part of my journey as well too, where it's like, I can't even see sometimes, and I'm already doing the thing that God has called me to because I'm so clouded with all these other things. And so I love that, she was able to like reconnect with that into a point where now she's speaking at your retreats, which is so beautiful. And what you said about that transformation and it taking time. So we want that microwave, quick fix, hot pocket type healing. It ain't gonna happen. I mean, there's some things that do happen like, quick, but I think that be open to the process. Be open to the process. I think when I think of a client that I've worked with, literally 6 months, like a 6-month period, and for the first 5 months, it was nothing but like digging below the surface and uprooting things and tears and crying. She was like, girl, I'm not even wearing my makeup to session no more. No more mascara. And we did that for 5.5 months. And it wasn't until the last 2 weeks that we got into action and steps and strategies, and just not, we didn't really even have to go that deep into it because she knew, she had a sense and a knowing of what to do because of all the decluttered emotions and lies and vows and subconscious program agreements and all these things that we got to break and generational stuff that we got to break. And
Right.
at the end of those 6 months, she had a 5-figure launch in her
Mm.
business. Are you ready to join the Soulfully Aligned You sisterhood and be a part of a family that is reshaping narratives, changing stereotypes, and breaking barriers? In a world where support systems are crucial, Soulfully Aligned You has partnered with Girl Power Alliance. We offer a sense of belonging and sisterhood to women who may feel isolated or lacking such community. Whether you're seeking personal or professional growth, GPA members understand the importance of lifting each other up and creating a safe space where women can truly thrive. This community goes beyond networking. It fosters deep and lasting relationships that extend far beyond the boundaries of any workplace or event. Together, we can achieve greatness and make a positive impact on the world. If you ever feel like you don't have that family, rest assured we are here for you. The bonds forged within this community are invaluable, becoming a lifelong source of strength and inspiration. Will you take the next steps and join the Soulfully Aligned Sisterhood partnered with Girl Power Alliance today? Together, let's create a future where women empower women, where barriers are shattered and where lasting change is made. You can get more information about the details of our membership at bit.ly/say membership. That's bit.ly/SAY membership. And you can get access to a 24-hour sneak peek of the membership filled with over 200 plus modules, calls, and certifications at bit.ly/say sneak peek. That's bit.ly/SAY-SNEAKPEEK. But I find that when women are in a business, they know they need to step into more of this mindfulness work. They're trying to go so fast. It's like boom, 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 boom. They want to move so fast and keep going in a circle, in a circle, in a spiral. And
Right.
you got the memo weeks ago, months ago that this ain't working, but you just keep on digging in, digging in, digging in. And I just want to invite women to slow down,
Right.
trust the process. If you're anything like me or how I used to be, I'm like, if it ain't a strategy, I don't want it. I need the
Mm.
strategies. And
Right.
I learned really quick that it's not about another strategy. It's about digging deep. It's about getting to the core of who you are. What did you say earlier? Being confident and not afraid to be you. Like that sounds so simple, but in business, in branding, that branding part is the uniqueness of you. And if you
Right.
haven't like embraced that yet, that part is still kind of like, it's subdued and it's not coming out in the power of who you're called to be. So
Right.
I went on my little soapbox. You have
No, it
anything to
needed to
add?
be said. It needed to be
Yeah.
said. I so agree with so much of what you shared. I think of this too when you were talking about why people don't recognize like their gifts. I think a lot of the times is it's so natural for you. It's so natural for us, right? When it's a gift, it comes easy. And sometimes we overlook that. And I had to have other people or read in other places like, oh, everybody doesn't do this. And I was thinking, oh, everybody doesn't hear people's thoughts. Okay, like everybody doesn't. That was so helpful, but I think that's a part of why, and I wanted to speak to that, to those who are listening. Sometimes you overlook those gifts or your power in those gifts is because they come so natural.
Girl, you just hit it on the head. So natural. And it's why it's important for us to be in community.
Mm.
And a lot of times we as women will say, I don't do women. You're saying you don't do community and you're not giving yourself an opportunity for your gifts to be reflected back to you.
Right.
Because like you said, we can't see it because we're so close to it and it's so natural to us. But if you're in community and you're in relationship with other
Right.
women and other women who are just as successful as you, more successful than you, don't be
Yeah.
afraid So reach
Right.
out to those women who you think are, we put people on a pedestal and we think, oh, I can never reach out to them. Challenge yourself today. Reach out today and
Right.
be in community, because people are going to reflect back to you. And that's one of the greatest gifts of like being in a mastermind, being in group coaching. Like you get to ask those questions. What do you all see?
Mhm.
What do you see as my greatest gifts and talents? How have I added value to your life? And when you hear people writing this stuff down or sharing this stuff, you're like, whoa, I
Right.
see that about myself. There is a lady that was a part of a chapter I was in. She spoke for one of our meetings. And at the beginning of that meeting, she had all the women in the room. She picked on me. It's like, no, don't pick me, because I didn't know what we were doing. But it was so good what she did. And she asked them to write down 3 words when they thought of me.
Mm.
Do you know how much that
Wow.
blessed my spirit? Some of those, I'm like, what? Don't think this. This is what I exude. This is what I put out into the
Mm.
atmosphere. And it was so aligned with the work that I do also,
Wow.
So I would encourage, if you have a community, you have people that are there for your good, and they're lifting you up. Ask them to write those 3 words of what they think of you, because it's
Right.
going to help you to see yourself in a different way. That was a very helpful exercise that someone else did for me, which was really great. So,
Wow. Beautiful. I love it.
yes. Do you have any? Oh, I have to ask you, one, what is your favorite Bible verse? Did you already spell that part out?
I didn't say the verse, but I alluded to it. So Ephesians 3:20, which says, "Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us."
Amen. And that is how we get it. What was it? Empowerment
Empowered
Incorporated.
Incorporated.
Yes,
Mhm.
I loved the story behind that. That was beautiful. And then secondly, when you hear the phrase "branded for His glory," what comes to mind for you?
Ooh, branded for his glory. Well, one quote that I've heard a long time ago that I've adopted is that I am an expression of what it means to be Natalie Warren, and I'm sorry, I'm an expression of what it means to be Natalie Warren as God wants to show me in the earth.
Mm, 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 mm.
That's what it would mean for me. Yeah.
As God wants to show me in the earth, and that expression of how He wants to show you. That is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
better marinate on that and really think about that, because I love that it incorporates that co-partnership with God, right? Because I find it too often. I hear a lot about self-expression and your own truth and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of leaves out the one who created us a bit.
Right.
But I'm gonna just leave that right there. We might talk about
Right.
that on another episode. But yes, thank you so much for coming on and being with us. Where can people find you? All the good stuff, socials and all that.
Yes, I'd love to stay connected. I love to stay connected. So on all platforms, I'm Natalie Warren. My parents knew I would be unique, so they named me uniquely. So it's Natolie. And the website for the Whole Woman Experience is awaken to the number 2 power.com.
Yes, thank you. And we'll be sure to link those things in the show notes. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on with me today, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Soulfully Aligned You. If something we shared encouraged you, shifted your mindset, or caused you to take action, it would be so nice if you left us a review. Your review helps this podcast to show up for more multi-passionate mompreneurs of faith just like you.